Well, as we've said on other occasions, players make the difference. And it was the players who made the difference tonight, particularly when you play the game in that fashion. When it is blocking, running, beating blocks, running to the ball, rushing the passer. So it's something they can feel, I think, very proud of themselves for what they did.
Al, for those people maybe who were watching on television or watching their first Virginia game today, when they saw the intensity, the physical toughness, is this an emblematic game of what Virginia football is all about?
Well, we've been trying to work to be this type of team for the better part of 3+ years now. And I've said on other occasions we're closer to the model than we've ever been, and maybe we closed in a little bit more on the model tonight, but we still got some things to do.
Give you the stage to talk about your running game, 295 yards, and especially your offensive line play today.
Well, they really did a great job. The runners, when you run the ball, it has to be a very cohesive effort. Sometimes you pass the ball, it's a little bit more. Some individual guys can make it work to throw the catch. But when you run the ball, there's a lot of guys, pretty much all 11 of them, that have to be in sync, and they certainly were tonight. A lot of those runs that we have, those scheme runs, you need cohesion and you need coordination on them, and they really worked well today. The runners were very aggressive with the ball, so they've got a lot to be proud of. Defensively,
Coach, you pitch an ACC shutout. It's your second shutout of the season. How good do you feel about the way the defense performed?
Yeah, they did a real good job. I was impressed. I was impressed. They were physical. They tried to be relentless throughout. Thought the contact level was very good. At the end, fourth quarter-wise, we got pass rush and we were able to run the ball. Those are two things that you got to be able to do at this time of the year.
Coach, with your defense early in the game, a couple of times Maryland creates turnovers, has short fields, and your defense turns them away. How important early on were those stops?
Well, sure. Field position was a big item in the game, and we were in danger of we did give away field position. So as a result, we were kind of vulnerable at that time. And for the defense to do what they did on those 2 fourth-down plays was that was pretty terrific.
An ACC shutout. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Guys.
I think in the first half, Maryland had 8 plays where they had 2 yards or less to go for first down. I think they converted 1. Can you just talk about a short yardage defense, and particularly seeing Hoffman seems very active in there on short yardage?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Andrew. I can just repeat myself from what I've said for a couple weeks here now, that there's a lot of players on our team having a very fine season, but nobody's having a finer season than Andrew. Now, this is the second week in a row after the game that I've been asked about him, so obviously, even though he operates in an area that's kind of closed in, it's hard for him to see. Obviously, you all are seeing what we're able to see when we watch him and look at the tape, that he's really having an outstanding season. He's making himself very difficult to block. He's becoming a playmaker lineman. He's doing a real good job.
Al, did this game kind of illustrate what a year can do for a player in the case of Ahmad, who I think had at least one bad penalty last year, and compared with what he did tonight?
Well, he really stepped up tonight. There was some particular challenges to him in the game. I thought he really stepped up. You mentioned the penalties. I don't know. I don't recall that we had one. No, in this game. I don't recall that the team had one. And so if that's the case, if my memory serves me well, that's one of the things probably that we're most pleased of. That was one of our objectives coming into the game, to try to make our team just to try to be a team that's hard to beat. If you can do that, if you can make yourself into a team that's hard to beat, if you can fit that model, then obviously you don't get beat very much. And we did a lot of things. Those 2 turnovers early didn't fall into that category, but much that followed afterwards did.
Coach, on Brooks' second interception, it seemed like he ranged a lot farther back than most linebackers can go. Is that a play that only Brooks can make?
Well, when he's in on the regular, he does. Jermaine Diaz has that same assignment sometimes when we're in on the nickel. Depending upon the formation, it can go to some other players, but I'd be understating it if I said that others could do it as fast and as well as he did. That was really a terrific play that he made.
Phillip Brown was in on some big plays, that third down play and the fumble. Can you just kind of talk about his day?
This was Phil's first start. He certainly earned it by what he had done up to this point, and based on what was visible out there, I think he continued to improve his game. But that was a good, tough, physical play for a young corner, obviously. And he's a good physical player. At that position, cover skills are very important. That's sometimes what gets guys on the field. But when you got cover skills and that level of toughness, then a guy's got a chance to do something.
It seems as if you didn't lose any faith in your running game after Florida State. Talk about what you were thinking after that game in terms of the running game.
Well, if one game like that would make us abandon it, then we never really had faith in it at all, did we? If you can lose your faith that fast, you don't have much faith. So we just. No, to me, just as we've said before, they all count one. That one down there counted as one loss. This one up here counted as one win. And as I said last week, our goal was to get to November the 14th, November the 7th, and still be in the hunt. We can say that we are. Now we're going to try to get to November the 14th and stay in the hunt.
Your inside linebackers had to be Ironman tonight with Rich out. Do you expect to get him back?
Richie hurt his knee during the week. He had a death in the family at the end of the week. All those things combined, I would say that we just have to see how the circumstances work out.
Al, the defensive unit, you're heading there late with Darrell down at three-point and Brooks coming off the other edge. Is that about as quick the team you've had on the field since you've been at Virginia?
Well, obviously that's our nickel group that we've had out there all year. But yes, it is. Now, that wasn't the reason I say it. That means this wasn't the first time it was that way. It was that way up at Temple also. In fact, when Chris was in the mix, probably it was a little faster than what it is now. But yeah, that group can generate some push.
Can you talk a little bit about the job the offensive line's done the last couple of games?
295 and 350 or 349 or whatever it is. And I'm not very good with numbers, Jerry. Really, truly, numbers usually, numbers and I have a fight, but I'll use numbers in this particular case to answer your question. I think that says everything that needs to be said about the offensive lineman.
Did you do anything after that Florida State game, or did you just chalk it up to a tough opponent and a bad night?
I think if you ever just chalk it up, you're making a mistake, passing up the opportunity to make some observations and get some insights that can help your team. But there were some things there that can help our team, but pretty much we're staying the course here.
Now, you reached this sort of juncture several weeks back with a big performance against Syracuse and a major hurdle the next time up, and it didn't work out. You got another one, coming up next Saturday. Other than the fact that it's at home this time, is what can change? What do you hope to change?
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see any similarities in the circumstances. I didn't see that actually it was Clemson, not Syracuse. But I didn't see that the Clemson game was linked to the Florida State game, and I don't see that this game is linked to the one coming up.
I meant that was a hurdle, a major hurdle at Florida State, and it didn't work out for this team. This Miami is going to be a major hurdle. What do you hope to change?
The outcome. The outcome. I think we'd, just as I alluded to earlier, Bob, what we'd like to do is, to start with, just do a better job within the category of those things that, number of things that we have identified and classified for the players, that if you do them, you're going to make yourself into a team that's hard to beat. And Florida State played very well against us, and we did a number of things that were painful to do because they fall on the other side of that line of things that make you hard to beat. So that's where we got to start out with. And tonight we did a lot of the things, most of the things on the plus side of the things that'll make you hard to beat. There's a team that won 21 games in a row in a tough league by following that formula, so we're just trying to emulate them.
How much has this team grown in its ability to put potential distracting things aside? There was all this talk about bad blood in this rivalry and stuff this week, and obviously Miami next. How much have they kind of grown up and can just get through that stuff?
It's been a very purposeful team for quite some time. I think it's a team that's demonstrating that it understands clearly what's really at issue during the course of the game, and all that stuff makes for good stories and gives you guys something to probe around about and whatnot. But, in most cases, it really doesn't have much to do with how the game is played. I thought the players right from the start clued into what it was going to take to win the game, the things that we were going to have to do in a game to win, which was going to involve a lot more than just playing hard and just being motivated. There's a very, very specific way we wanted to play the game and try to orchestrate how things were, and they did a real good job of doing that. And that's why I say when you're able to run the ball like that, rush the passer, shut a team out, players make the difference.
In light of the game that Josh Allen had last year, was stopping him a particular priority?
No, we never mentioned that player in particular. What we did talk about is that we certainly had to do a lot better job against the running game in general.
Al, you mentioned last week, or this past week, that defenses don't have a lot of success if all they do is hold the line. How important were the big plays, the game-changing plays, turnovers and things that your defense was able to?
There were a number of players who took the initiative to be playmakers tonight. There's no guarantee that that's a constant. The other team's always out there trying to keep you from beating one of those. But that'll certainly be necessary here as we go down the last 3 weeks. So hopefully that's a positive sign that we have some players maturing into that and kind of looking forward to that responsibility and that challenge.
Right after you guys stopped them on 3rd and 4th down in the first quarter, your offense, I think, went 86 yards after that. Just kind of talk about that sequence. How significant did you feel?
Well, that was, I think, a very good, really positive for the overall team. I mean, by the overall team, Dave, I mean players on offense and defense, coaches. When the team can make a good stop like that in a very difficult circumstance, 3rd down and short, 4th down and short, and then turn right around and go back and move the ball like that, I think everybody involved is feeling pretty good about their opportunity to individually win. And that's what those kind of things do. It builds a lot of, your team confidence is largely a function of individual confidence collectively. If a lot of guys are beating blocks and a lot of guys are making blocks and a lot of guys are feeling good about, hey, I think this is going pretty good tonight. And the way that drive was structured and the way the drive was stopped beforehand, I think it left a lot of players and a lot of coaches feeling that, hey, we can continue to play in this fashion here now for quite some time tonight.
Is Vernon Davis an especially tough tight end to deal with because of his speed?
Well, he's really kind of a hybrid tight end. There weren't many jobs that I observed tonight that were really tight end jobs. They were more, in-close receiver jobs. He's a very talented player. Early in the game, we were able to pretty much keep him from being a go-to guy. We let him loose there a couple of times. Later in the game, fortunately, as the sequence of things went, that was after we were able to have the lead. Had those things occurred early in the game, which we were trying to be fairly intent on making sure they didn't happen, then we would have been a little bit behind the 8 ball, say, particularly after we'd been in those difficult field position situations.
Now, I'm curious, just because of Miami and Hester next week, how would you evaluate your kickoff return coverage, your kick coverage tonight, just at first blush without seeing tape?
I thought it was about 50-50. There were a couple that were pretty darn good. There were a couple that left a great deal to be desired. I think it's probably unlikely that Hester will get the same opportunity, so it's probably a moot point.
Who did Zeidenberg take the place of on the...
Lance Evans.
Sean did punt, pretty well.
He did.
One of them did go in the end zone, but still.
Right. Yeah, if we'd been just a little bit more alert, we might have had a chance to make a real play on that right on the goal line. But the player down there couldn't find the ball. He was looking, he was doing what he was supposed to do. He just couldn't find it. And so, we lost really. They kind of gave him a 20-yard gain as a result of that. So if we can do something like that in one of these big games coming up, obviously that's one of the kind of things we'll need some help with.
Do you think you'd be able to dominate with the running game as much as you did against a defense like that?
Jerry, I'm not one of those worry coaches, and I think I got a pretty good level of confidence in our team, but I got concerns going into every game, and I certainly I was confident we could do a good job, but I wouldn't have predicted that, no.
How was a Scott Stadium attendance record? Talk about the impact the fans made.
As a great, as has been the case here now for 2 years straight, is a great crowd. You know that mentioned earlier that it was a game that the team can be really proud of, and since you bring it up, it's a game that the crowd can be really proud of. They were tremendous. They got a chance to, if the players got a chance to really show themselves off on regional television, so did the crowd.